And welcome back, Mr. Gurley.
Thank
Glad
you.
to see your smiling face up here again.
Thank you.
I don't know how we got through without you. Let's see here. Mr. Camardi, you have the invocation this morning. Mr. Bell, you got the pledge. And then we'll have approval of minutes. Is there any adjustment to the agenda?
No, sir. There is not.
Any adjustments from the commissioners?
Could I ask respectfully, maybe during Mr. Honeycutt's comments, could you just give me the cliff notes of the budgets work sessions I may have missed, just highlights, if it's okay with everybody?
Sure.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Okay. Then we got a 4-H robotics presentation. Who's coming over for that, do you know?
Actually, the 4-H club.
Oh, okay.
For you, they went to the World Nationals.
Oh, great.
Whatever.
Okay. Then we'll have public comments, and I know we got some appointments this morning too, don't we?
Yes, sir, we do have to.
Then we have a public hearing at 9:30 to discuss get comments on the annual budget capital improvement project. And then we've got consent agenda, which is the applications for present use. They're all good, aren't they? Okay. Ms. Allison, you're up.
First, a budget amendment is for social services. They're requesting to reallocate $10,725 from existing line items to cover cost of travel, meals, and lodging, since they do have an increased number of staff. For the sewer, requesting to anticipate and appropriate $10,042. This is for an insurance settlement on a claim that they had at the Genoa site.
So this is just a washout?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Well,
kinda.
I don't know if there was a deductible on that or not. I can find out for you.
Okay, but it's close to a washout?
Yes, sir, it should be. For social services, $18,329 requesting to be reallocated from client transportation to postage. They've seen an increase in the number of active cases in adult and child services, which has also increased just the sheer amount of communications that's having to go out to clients. Another one for social services, to reallocate some monies and also to anticipate some additional monies from the state, and this is for the child support programs. This is to cover the cost of providing legal services and county clerk services for child support cases. This one is reimbursable 66% by the state. For WCDA, we are asking to anticipate and appropriate the amount of $193,132.72. This is a Rural Economic Development Grant from the Department of Commerce, and it will be used by Stormberg Foods for a reuse project, but will not require a county match.
Have we received those dollars?
Yes, sir.
We have.
We did.
That's good.
And I believe they've already paid it out as well.
And the note and deed of trust from them.
Okay.
And we had a quick update yesterday. I think they plan to go into actual production in October. Is that right?
They are. I think they actually have some contracts and they're moving forward. So I think things are starting to happen there now.
Finally.
For services on aging, requesting to anticipate and appropriate $657 from Duke Energy. This is for providing fans and heaters for eligible recipients for the Senior Center program. For solid waste, requesting to anticipate $7,872.78. This is additional insurance proceeds for the claim that they had out there in February. I'm sorry, the other insurance proceeds we received was in February. The claim was earlier than that. For the sewer, requesting to anticipate and appropriate $57,000 from user fees. This is just going to be to offset the additional sewer fee charges from the city of Goldsboro that we've experienced in that fund and get us through the rest of the year. For social services, requesting to reallocate $5,190 to capital outlay equipment. This money will be used to pay for a paging system. It was in the original budget. I think it was just an error that the funds were reallocated to another line item, so they did need this capital project. For solid waste, requesting to reallocate $25,000 for gasoline and tires. The fuel and diesel prices have gone up, and we have vehicles that use both, so with the increase in those prices, additional monies are needed for the rest of the year. Another one for solid waste, anticipating $277,893.30 on insurance proceeds. This is a separate claim than the one I mentioned earlier. This is net of a $5,000 deductible, and it was for, they had a fire on one of their trash compactors, and it was a total loss to us. For social services, requesting to anticipate and appropriate $143.66. This was provided by the NC Guardianship Association to be used for additional training. For the Sheriff's Office, $708.31 to anticipate and appropriate for additional controlled substance tax monies received. Another one for the Sheriff's Office to anticipate and appropriate $129. This was for a donation that was received to be used for, specifically for the Sheriff's Department. For the JCPC, specifically the Teen Court Program, and this is a pass-through grant, but we do have to budget it because we have to pay it out. The original budget included the United Way monies and should not have included that, so we are reversing that piece of that grant, because that does not pass through us. For the Maxwell Center, we're requesting to anticipate and appropriate an additional $5,000. This is to pay for bartending services and other assistance during events, and that will be charged to customers during each event. So we should receive that money back. For fleet management, requesting to anticipate an additional $7,500 in the parts line item. They have just exceeded the use on that line item, but they have also exceeded revenue estimates, so we need to true that up to get us through the rest of the year. And the last one is for 4-H, the prevention grant for cooperative extension. They are reallocating line items within that grant in the amount of $7,900 to shore up the line items they have for the end of the year before the grant closes out.
Can we go back to 569,
Yes, sir.
solid waste?
Sure
For
can.
the gas, oil, tires, do we anticipate more budget amendments at the next meeting from other departments for the same reason?
It is possible. Now, we've already done several because the gas prices have been going up and have kind of hit some of our larger departments earlier on. But since the year end is approaching, and the last meeting being June 19th, you probably will see some. I would not be surprised as we kind of review our line items. I don't know how substantial they will be.
Okay, because we put a figure in the budget every year, and some years I thought the figure was estimated too low to start with, because you never know what fuel's going to do, and I just don't want to get caught in this bind again.
We have in the past had a contingency for fuel, but we were not able to budget for that this year. So in the 17-18 year, so that was, the year before that, I believe we had that to sort of fall back on. So,
Okay.
and we have increased our costs for the 18-19 year for fuel.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I did have a question. As I'm going through here and seeing these grants, you don't budget for grants in the beginning of the year, only when you receive them?
That's right. That's correct. Some of them in the past have been budgeted at the beginning of the year, but we found it very complicated to do that way, because a lot of times you end up receiving something different than what we've budgeted, and you have to go through and adjust all your line items. So it was easier because most of those grants are a wash, or we can anticipate the county match whenever that grant becomes available. We've decided to start budgeting for that as we receive the grant.
Okay, thank you.
That also keeps us from possibly, we have controls in place, but that does keep us from spending line items that, they're anticipating to be grant monies where we might not have received the grant monies yet.
Well, you don't know when you're going to receive those
Right.
grant monies. Okay, thank you.
All right, let's see here. Oh, the patient fees eligibility and bad debt write-off. Is anyone going to present that, or just going to vote on it?
I'm sorry.
Wake up over there.
I was doing my summary for the budget. I'm sorry. I do apologize. No, David may be here, but I don't think there is a presentation. This is just a standard recommendation from the Board of Health.
This is what, we do it every year
Yes, sir.
anyway, so.
Sorry.
That's okay. All right, then we'll have a motion to approve Settlers Point preliminary plat.
So moved.
And Barry's here for that if you have.
And we'll let you make that motion once we get into the actual open session.
I just thought I'd get it in on time.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna beat Joe Girl.
This is off of Big Daddy's Road. It is 101 lots. The preliminary plat did go to the planning board for review, and they, of course, have looked at that and recommended approval. This is, it's about 62.7 acres. There's an existing Settlers Point up on Big Daddy's Road. This will be actually back behind it. They're going to connect into that subdivision. It also connects in on around to Nahunta Creek, if you're familiar with that subdivision there. So there'll be several different accesses there to get into that subdivision. Seems to be a standard subdivision. There were no major issues with this one. I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have any.
Questions?
Is this stick-built modular homes, what?
Yeah, these, they should be site-built homes.
Okay.
Yep.
Anyone else? Thank you, Barry.
Thank you.
Okay. Then we get into new business to adopt a resolution requesting the county of McWayne approve and adopt the 5 interlocal agreements. And I figured that was going to be you, Chip.
Of course, you know, we held a public hearing and approved our flood protection ordinance. Each of the towns of Fremont, Pikeville, Mount Olive, Walnut Creek, and Seven Springs adopted similar ordinance. In fact, they adopted the exact same ordinance with the names changed. We've been asked to administer their floodplain ordinances for them since we do their building inspections. So what we have here is a resolution to adopt the interlocal agreements for each of these communities. And we'll need to have these signed and forwarded to the State Department of Public Safety. So before you, because we do the building inspections, we're the normal enforcement for that floodplain ordinance.
Are there any questions?
Yes.
Sure, go ahead.
Do we do all the inspections for all these municipalities?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Goldsboro would just submit their own?
Goldsboro did their own flood ordinance, and they do their own inspections, so they're responsible for their own. We're responsible for everybody else. The town of Eureka does not participate in the National Flood Insurance Program, so they have no ordinance. They don't have any flood zone that affects them anyway.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we'll have a video by our Public Affairs Office, county manager comments and our comments. And I know we need a closed session this morning for what reason?
To consider matters relating to the expansion or location of industries and businesses in the county, and to consult with attorney to preserve the attorney-client privilege.
Is there a motion on the floor to go in closed session?
So
Got a motion? Okay, raise your hand.